Nintendo just dropped a wave of new Switch 2 announcements, and honestly, some of these games completely caught me off guard. I went through all 15 of them, so you don't have to guess which ones are actually worth your attention. Alright, let's kick things off with something that genuinely stopped me in my tracks the moment I came across it. Pokemon Pokopia feels like a fascinating new direction for the franchise. Not the traditional formula we've been following for years, but something closer to a spin-off experiment. A fresh window into a world fans already love. When it first appeared among the early titles for the new Nintendo hardware, my immediate feeling was that Nintendo wanted to test something deliberately different here. The game introduces a vibrant new region built around a futuristic hub called Pokopia City, which functions as a meeting point for trainers, researchers, and Pokemon enthusiasts from all over the world. Rather than the familiar journey from town to town chasing gym badges, the gameplay seems to revolve around interacting with this bustling living ecosystem where Pokemon and people coexist in a much more dynamic way. It almost feels like a social Pokemon playground, one where experimentation and discovery sit right at the center of the experience.
Ditto's also quite handy. And a unique-looking tan growth. They decided to build... Will there be...
Let me tell you right now, this one is pure, beautiful chaos. If you played the original Unrailed, you already know exactly how fast a simple idea can spiral into complete madness. The concept is straightforward. You and your friends are building a railway track while the train is already moving. That single premise is enough to trigger immediate panic, and Unrailed 2 takes that energy and cranks it up even further. The core loop is brilliantly simple on paper. Players run through procedurally generated environments collecting resources like wood, iron, and tools, crafting tracks, and placing them down before the train crashes. Sounds manageable, right? It is absolutely not, because the terrain never stops changing. Obstacles keep appearing from every direction, and the only thing standing between you and total disaster is genuine teamwork. This one hits a completely different note, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing. Outbound isn't about fighting monsters or surviving brutal conditions. The whole idea is built around freedom, travel, and the simple pleasure of creating your own cozy home on wheels. The first time I saw the concept, I thought it felt like a peaceful road trip simulator crossed with a creative sandbox, and I mean that as a genuine compliment. You start the game with a basic camper van and gradually transform it into a fully functional mobile home. And the key thing here is that none of it is just decoration. Every piece you build actually serves a purpose. You craft workstations, install equipment, expand the living space, and upgrade the van using modular building parts that can be attached both inside and outside the vehicle. Over time, your modest little van evolves into a moving base packed with tools, gadgets, and genuinely cozy living areas. Now here's a game that honestly surprised me, and I mean that in the best possible way. At first glance, Minishoot Adventures might come across as a simple twin-stick shooter with a charming art style, cute, fun, nothing more. But the moment you actually start playing, you realize it's doing something much more interesting than that. The game combines fast-paced bullet hell combat with the kind of exploration you'd expect from a classic adventure title, and the combination works surprisingly well. Instead of a traditional character, you pilot a tiny spaceship traveling across a colorful top-down world filled with secrets, enemies, hidden upgrades, and puzzles waiting to be uncovered. Think of it like a Zelda-style overworld, except instead of swinging a sword, you're weaving through waves of projectiles and blasting enemies with your ship's weapons.
All help you in their own special way.
The primordial powers will also unlock exploration abilities.
Combat abilities.
You can also upgrade your ship by leveling up, open up the map bit by bit, unraveling a beautiful world to discover at your own pace.
If intense sci-fi shooters are your thing, Deadzone Rogue is going to grab your attention very quickly. The whole experience drops you into a dark, futuristic setting where survival comes down entirely to your skill, your reflexes, and the choices you make while building your character across each run. What makes it particularly compelling is the way it blends classic first-person shooter action with roguelike design. every attempt plays out differently from the last. The story places you aboard a massive space station crawling with hostile machines and deadly threats lurking around every corner. As you push through the station's corridors and fight through wave after wave of enemies, you unlock upgrades, powerful new abilities, and weapons that fundamentally change how your character operates. Some runs might shape you into a fast, stealth-focused hunter. Now, this one is something else entirely, and I mean that in the most genuinely exciting way. Blueprints is one of those rare indie projects that feels completely original the moment you understand what it's actually doing. There's no combat focus here, no action loop to master. The entire experience is built around mystery, exploration, and unraveling a massive puzzle hidden inside a strange, ever-shifting mansion. The story begins when you inherit an enormous estate called Mount Holly, but there's a catch. To officially claim it as your own, you must find a secret room known only as Room 46. That sounds straightforward enough until you discover that this mansion doesn't behave like any normal building. Every single time you explore it, the layout changes. Rooms appear in different locations, new corridors open up, and the entire structure rearranges itself like a living puzzle. Some games try to be everything at once, and then there are games like Mixtape, which know exactly what they want to be and commit to it completely. This isn't a sprawling open world or a high-octane action game, it's something far more personal. Mixtape is about growing up, about friendship, and about those specific moments that live in your memory forever because you somehow knew, even then, that life was about to change. The story takes place on the final night of high school for three close friends, and as they make their way to one last party together, the game transforms their shared memories into a playable journey through the defining moments of their teenage years.
Because you know the
Right, let's shift the mood entirely, because Blighted goes somewhere much darker. This one is being developed by Drinkbox Studios, the team behind Guacamelee and Nobody Saves the World, and if you're familiar with their work, you already know they don't do things halfway. This time around, they're building something far more atmospheric and mysterious than anything they've made before. The world of Blighted is suffering under a terrible curse known as the Blight, and a powerful enemy named Sorcisto has already destroyed your village and corrupted the land around it, leaving you as the sole survivor of the catastrophe. Your goal isn't purely revenge, though. You need to venture into these twisted, decaying environments and recover the lost memories of your people before the same corruption eventually consumes you as well. If you spent any real time with the original Moonlighter, you probably remember just how unexpectedly addictive that double life was. By day, you run a quiet little shop, carefully pricing your items on the shelves and reading your customers' reactions to figure out what the market will actually bear. By night, your peaceful merchant transforms into a dungeon-diving adventurer, hunting monsters and treasure in dangerous underground worlds. It was a brilliant concept, and Moonlighter 2 takes that foundation and builds something much bigger and far more ambitious on top of it. You're back in the role of Will, the shopkeeper balancing two completely different lives, managing inventory, growing a business, and keeping customers happy on one side, while plunging into mysterious new dungeons to hunt for rare relics on the other. And now for something that feels like a deep breath after all of that. Woodo is genuinely one of the most calming concepts I've come across in a long time, and I think that's exactly what makes it stand out. There's no enemy to defeat, no world to save, the whole game is about creativity, quiet focus, and the simple satisfaction of building something beautiful, one piece at a time. The experience feels like interacting with a living wooden diorama. Picture a handcrafted miniature world made of wooden toys, tiny buildings, and small characters. And your role is to assemble these scenes by placing each object exactly where it belongs. As the pieces come together, the world slowly comes alive with color, gentle animations, and small, charming details tucked into every corner of the environment. What really defines Woodo is its atmosphere. Everything is deliberately cozy and unhurried.
Through a series of interconnected dioramas, each capturing a unique moment from their shared adventure.
Plenty of funny characters and silly emotes are sure to put a smile on your face.
And
if you've ever played the original Heave Ho with friends, you already know the particular kind of joy it delivers. That rare combination of an absurdly simple concept, somehow producing some of the most chaotic and hilarious moments multiplayer gaming has to offer. Heave Ho 2 brings all of that back and pushes it even further, introducing new levels, more variety, and something the original never had: full online multiplayer. The core mechanic is still the same glorious nonsense. Every player controls a goofy little character with long arms, and the only way to move through the level is by grabbing onto platforms, objects, or even other players and swinging forward. It sounds easy until you're actually trying to coordinate jumps, swings, and throws with other people in real time, at which point everything collapses into beautiful, screaming chaos. There are certain studios where the name alone is enough to make you pay attention, and Klei Entertainment is absolutely one of them. The team behind Don't Starve and Mark of the Ninja has a genuine talent for building worlds that feel alive and distinct, and Rotwood looks like another strong example of exactly that. At its core, the game is a cooperative roguelike brawler where players push into a dangerous forest that has been overtaken by mysterious corrupting forces. Your mission is to venture deeper into these twisted lands, take down increasingly monstrous enemies, and gather materials that can help rebuild a safe haven for the survivors left behind. The combat is fast and satisfying. Each character brings different weapon types and abilities to the table, and the game actively encourages you to experiment with builds and playstyles. This is one of those games that can sneak up on you completely. On the surface, My Little Puppy presents itself as a cute platformer starring an adorable dog, and while that's technically accurate, it undersells what the game is actually doing by quite a lot. The story follows a Welsh corgi named Bongu, who wakes up in dog heaven and suddenly catches a familiar scent drifting through the air, the scent of his beloved owner. Without a moment's hesitation, he turns his back on the peaceful afterlife and sets off on a long journey to find him again. What makes the adventure feel genuinely special is that you experience the entire world from the perspective of a dog, not a superhero, not a chosen warrior, just a loyal animal driven by instinct and unconditional love. Bongu can run, jump, bark, and sniff his way through environments, but he also carries real limitations that make the gameplay feel grounded and authentic. I'm just going to say it, this might be the wildest concept on this entire list, and I mean that with complete admiration. Denshattack takes the world of extreme sports, throws out every conventional choice, and replaces it with something nobody asked for, but everybody apparently needed: trains. Actual locomotives performing insane tricks. The game draws its inspiration directly from the famous internet meme and parody manga culture built around train drifting, and the developers took that completely unhinged premise and turned it into a full action game where massive trains grind on rails, launch off ramps, and chain together ridiculous stunt combos. If you've ever played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and found yourself thinking, this is great, but what if the skater was a giant locomotive? Then congratulations, someone made that game specifically for you. To close things out, we go somewhere quieter, heavier, and altogether more haunting. Death Howl is a genuinely unusual game, a tactical strategy title built around deck-building mechanics and wrapped inside a deeply emotional story set in a mysterious realm between the living and the dead. The story belongs to a huntress named Ro, who is shattered by the loss of her son and refuses, absolutely refuses, to accept that he is gone forever. She travels into a shadowy spirit world with one singular purpose: to bring him back. Every enemy you face along the way feels tied to the grief she carries, which gives the whole experience a weight that goes well beyond typical strategy gameplay. In combat, battles take place on grid-based maps, and instead of standard attacks, you work with a deck of cards to perform actions, moving, casting abilities, striking enemies. Every move costs energy, so positioning and timing matter enormously, and you can't afford to be careless.